Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing the Open Grade League team that helped me reach expert rank in this season of Go Battle League. This team is built around the new Community Day Chilling Water Florges, but there's a twist. Instead of the Chilling Water Moonblast moveset that we were expecting to be preferred, this team actually uses Chilling Water Trailblaze. No Moonblast means that Florges does sacrifice some of its neutral matchups, but does make it a lot more convincing against water types like Gastrodon that could otherwise be tricky. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and let's take a look at my expert team in action. Hopping into the first match, picking up a great lead Florges into Stunfisk. My opponent makes a very nice catch, catching the Chilling Water onto Dugong. Anytime I see Stunfisk plus Dugong, I automatically assume it's going to be the Inadequance team, with Fearow in the back. Fearow is very strong into both Corsola and Gastrodon, so that means I will have to preserve the Florges. So after landing a Trailblaze, I'm now going to send out Galarian Corsola. This will allow me to absorb the debuffed energy from the Dugong and get a big energy head start. This means if they try and bring in the Fearow, even though I'm going to be debuffed, double debuff Power Gems will still do quite a lot of damage. If my opponent decides to not bring in the Fearow though, I will have to pivot back out to lure it out. So in comes Stunfisk, my switch clock is not yet available, so I'm just going to tank the Mud Bomb and then switch, because I need to bait out what I'm expecting will be a Fearow in the back, and there it is right on cue. Chilling Water into the Fearow, no shielded, but now they're debuffed. I can survive a Drill Peck, but I want to try and get as much value out of this Florges as I possibly can. So I will put up the shield, go for another Chilling Water. Being able to spam out a guaranteed debuff every 10 turns is just so incredibly strong. Florges is just absolutely unreal. They go for the double debuff to Drill Peck. I can't quite save it. I send in the Corsola and I throw the Nightshade, expecting they have to go for a catch. They do go for the catch onto the Stunfisk, and now I get to bring in Gastrodon. I have a Power Gem loaded on my Corsola, and as long as Gastrodon exits with a move, my opponent will be in a scenario where they just simply cannot win, because they only have one shield and they get knocked out by either a Water Pulse or they will get knocked out by the Power Gem. So I get that full farm down, in comes the Fearow, I go for the Water Pulse, and now my opponent should always be no shield in this, recognizing there's also a Power Gem loaded, and we're able to take the win. Hopping into game number 2, leading Florges into Galarian Moltres. This matchup, even without Moonblast, is still pretty okay. My opponent safe switches into Gastrodon, and this is where Trailblaze can be unbelievable. Trailblaze into the Gastrodon, massive damage. Gastrodon farms up to 6 Mudslaps, so they could actually be on Earth Power, and they are on Earth Power. So I'm able to win switch very convincingly, but what could get tricky is the fact that there's a Galarian Moltres. My backline is very weak to Galarian Moltres, so when they bring in Shadow Scizor, I send in the Corsola. They bank a bunch of energy on Scizor, out comes Galarian Moltres, and since I'm up energy on the Corsola, Power Gem will be quite threatening. So Power Gem is going to be shielded. My opponent will have to throw, because if they don't, I will get to this Power Gem. Now they have to decide, are they willing to invest? They say no. They do get the full farm down, but Florges has that Chilling Water loaded, winning charge stack priority, and now if they want this energy, they're going to have to give me the final shield. And once the final shield is down, Shadow Scizor is going to be in a world of hurt. In comes Gastrodon as they send out the Scizor. Scizor does have a lot of stored energy. Scizor goes for the Night Slash bait. I shield it, and they cannot get to the Trailblaze before I get the Body Slam. Body Slam is resisted, but it's a Shadow Scizor. It's not surviving. In comes Galarian Moltres, and my opponent will resign the match. Florges into Charizard in the next game. This is a non-Shadow Charizard, but it is a shiny Charizard. I'm going for the Chilling Water as soon as I get it. My opponent catches it onto Credilli. Credilli is a problem Pokemon for this team. If I saw it on the lead, I would typically just save switch the Corsola and try and take advantage of decent switch timers and banking energy to try and figure out a way to beat this Pokemon. Interestingly enough, this Credilli is on Bullet Seed. We almost never see Bullet Seed Credilli anymore because Acid is just so consistent at providing fast move pressure, but it's here. Credilli will fire off a Rock Tomb, trying to go for the CMP tie. I'm going to try for the farm down. I'm not going to get it. My opponent will make a last second move, and they actually bank that move and send in Goodra. Goodra is a wall to the charge attacks from the Florges, because I'm not running a Fairy type charge attack. However, my Fairy Winds still do quite a bit of damage, and I can debuff their attacks, and Goodrup already doesn't do a lot of damage. My opponent does respect the Moonblast since I did build up to it, because even though I'm not running Moonblast until I reveal Trailblaze, my opponent has no way of knowing that. Since I didn't throw the Moonblast, they should probably be pretty comfortable in the knowledge that I am not running it, so I will go for the Chilling Water, and now I can go for the combo play with the Corsola. I saved some energy on the Florges if I need it for later. That's going to pick up the knockout. In comes Charizard, and Charizard will immediately be answered with the Nightshade. Nightshade forces the final shield. Charizard will be able to Ember me into Air Cutter range, and that's very okay because I still have a lot of shields to hide behind with the Gastrodon. I believe there was a slight undercharge, so a nice play from them. In comes the Gastrodon, and I'm just never going to be shielding. This is the non-Shadow Charizard, which means their Air Cutters are a lot less threatening. Here I'm going to throw 2, wait a turn, and catch onto the Florges. And that works out very nicely for me, as now I can preserve both my shields. The way that my opponent wins this game is via a CMP sack swap, so I'm just not going to throw my move. There is the attempt at the CMP sack swap. If it had worked, it would have won them the game on the spot, but I recognized that play was coming. I don't throw my energy, my Mud Slap KOs, and now Charizard will get knocked out by a Water Pulse to secure the win. We pick up a terrible lead in the next match, Florges into Shadow Scizor. I save switch into Gastrodon, and my opponent responds with a non-Shadow Annihilate. Annihilate will go for the Rage Fist right away. Since they are the non-Shadow Annihilate, I actually survived this Rage Fist pretty comfortably, and now I'm not going to bait. I'm just going to full send the Water Pulse. Water Pulse is going to land, and just like that, I'm able to win switch advantage. That's massive, because that means that my opponent is no longer going to have the Scizor completely shredding through my Florges. Scizor will throw the Night Slash to deny my energy, and they get the Night Slash boost. Oh no, that's so bad. I'm now taking so much damage from these bullet punches, but I can shield and still should be able to get a farm down. My opponent boosts again. You've got to be kidding me. The double boost, that's 1 in 100 odds to get back-to-back Night Slash boosts. And now Dedenne is revealed as their final Pokemon. Dedenne buffs up their defense with Parabolic Charge, and I'm going to lower their attack with Chilling Water. Stat modifiers going crazy in this matchup as they're going to look to buff up their defense once again, and I decide to put up my final shield. Because I'm pretty confident in the fact that I can Astonish down that Scizor if I need to. And now there's the switch into the Corsola. Corsola at the back-to-back Nightshades, looking to apply some pressure to Dedenne. Nightshade is going to connect. There's the catch attempt. They do not get it, but my opponent has undone the Chilling Water debuffs. Can I survive the Parabolic? It's a play rough, and it knocks out. And unfortunately, the extra damage that I took from the double boosted Scizor perfectly put me into play rough range. I lose charge attack priority to Dedenne, and unfortunately, we will lose that game. We pick up an absolute nightmare lead in the next match, Florges into Abomasnow. Abomasnow is a sneaky anti-meta answer to this Florges moveset rising in popularity, as if you're a grass type, you do completely wall off Florges' moveset, since Florges only has access to water and grass moves. I bluff a Moonblast, and my opponent is not falling for it whatsoever. Here, I actually get the CMP tie, which is quite nice, so I get to apply another debuff, as they get to go for the Weather Ball. I do not want to concede a farm down, so I'm going to aggressively pivot into the Corsola and see what my opponent wants to do. Out comes Gastrodon. Basically, anytime you see an Abomasnow, at least in my experience, I typically always assume it's going to be double water in the back. Baiting out the Gastrodon is definitely not bad at all for the Corsola. My opponent tries to go for the CMP tie, but I'm always going to go for the extra. Because if my opponent opts to no shield, then I just got 10 free energy in exchange for taking no additional damage. So I'm able to take that knockout. In comes Jellicent. Jellicent will not get that farm down because of my decision to not play to the CMP tie. So the Nightshade will be shielded. I get 1 extra Astonish, and now in comes Gastrodon. Gastrodon farming up quite a bit. My opponent did not switch out instantly. Any energy that I have on the Gastrodon will be exceedingly valuable because I'm going to need it to get rid of the Abomasnow. Surf does get the shield. My opponent continues farming so much energy here. They're going to switch into Abomasnow, but Abomasnow does not yet have a Weather Ball. I'm at the back-to-back body slams, which means I should be able to just take the knockout. They are very low on the Jellicent. They have a lot of residual full energy, but they do not have the back-to-back moves. In comes the Jellicent, the Mud Slap went through, so I'm always going to be shielding. Surf gets shielded, we get the farm down, and we escape against an incredibly tough core breaker for the team. We've got the battle of fairy types in the next match. Florges into Wigglytuff. Wigglytuff, going to be a pretty uncomfortable Pokemon for my Corsola in the back, so I'm pretty happy to catch it on the lead. Typically, I assume Wigglytuff is going to be brought with Mud Slappers, and my backline is pretty fine into the Mud Slappers. They go Icy Wind, lowering my attack. I'm going to lower their attack now to -2. As Chilling Water is going to be no-shielded, out comes a Shadow Scizor, and that is tricky. They did land a Bullet Punch on my Florges. My Florges is now very, very low. I send out the Gastrodon. Gastrodon is a really good answer to Scizor with shields up. They were pretty close to another Night Slash, so I just decided to under-tap the Water Pulse. Water Pulse lands, down goes Shadow Scizor, and I still have an extremely healthy Gastrodon. In the back, there's the Mud Slapper I was expecting. It's going to be the Kanto Marowak. Marowak will never CMP tie Gastrodon because it's a CMP tie, they will usually lose. Here, I'm expecting they throw right before I get my next Body Slam, so I'm able to utilize that really low health Florges as a damage sponge. So Florges gets to absorb that attack. In comes the Gastrodon, going for the Body Slam, and my opponent will get a full farm down, but I've already done so much damage to them that now it's time for Corsola. For Corsola, I'm going to be farming up to a Power Gem because when they do send in the Wigglytuff, I need to be able to knock it out. So I commit the shield, in comes the Wigglytuff, and I'm able to outpace. I get to the Power Gem picks up the knockout, but they have a lot of energy on this Marowak. Galarian Corsola, I have a pretty high rank one. I did a lot of trades for it, and I'm going to need every last hit point because they get to another Bone Club. Bone Club into the Corsola does not knock out. We get the farm down and take the win. Florges into Stunfisk in the next game. We've seen this lead before, and this is a nice lead for Florges. My opponent decides to stay in, and I will go for the Chilling Water instantly, and it ends up being a charge attack priority tie. That works out great for me. Chilling Water is going to inflict some pretty solid damage, and I get to apply that guaranteed debuff. So Mud Bomb is going to land, there's an aggressive switch into Primeape, and this is where things could get tricky. Primeape, a bit of a problem Pokemon for my backline, as Primeape can output quite a lot of damage. They buff themselves up, and I'm going to immediately debuff them with the Chilling Water and send out Galarian Corsola. Galarian Corsola immediately under threat. This is the non-Shadow Primeape, but a Rage Fist still does a lot of damage. So I will be putting up a shield on the second Rage Fist. My opponent tries to go for the CMP tie, but I do not want to let that happen. I'm looking for the farm down. They're able to save it and send back in the Stunfisk. I still don't know what they have in the back just yet, but what I do know is I have a Gastrodon, and Gastrodon is going to do great into the Stunfisk, so I save a ton of energy on the Corsola, and then bring in the Gastrodon. Gastrodon gets that full slap farm down. What do they have in the back? Oh, that's not what I was expecting to see. It's a Meowscarada. Meowscarada is very frail, but an incredibly scary Pokemon. Body Slam does big damage. Beautiful catch by my opponent onto the Primeape, and I think that might lose me the game. Meowscarada is going to get the farm down. I send in Florges, and I make a game-losing mistake. In the moment, I forgot how much stored energy I had on the Corsola. I could have just no-shielded, sent in the Corsola, and then won. But I shield, they get the Night Slash boost. I was trying to commit to a fast move farm down, but I'm unsuccessful. I had so much energy on the Corsola that even though Meowscarada is a nightmare Pokemon for my backline, this should have been a win. But unfortunately, I got lost. I did not remember how much energy I had on the Corsola, and that cost me in a massive way. Hopping into the next match, and it's a bit of a tricky lead. Florges into Shadow Dusknoir. The name of the game for Dusknoir is massive fast move pressure and an unwallable moveset. I'm going to farm up to the Moonblast, as I always do, bait the Chilling Water, and I'm able to grab the shield. The debuff is very, very clutch for Florges, as this will allow Florges to survive the Shadow Punch and survive the Astonish afterwards to make it to another Chilling Water. So now my opponent will be at -2 attack, and I can send in the Corsola. Corsola will be hit with a super effective Shadow Punch, but since it's 2 stages debuffed, that's a lot less threatening. Out comes Galarian Moltres, and this could get tricky. I need this power gem to land, and they shield. They go down 2 shields, recognizing if I'm leading Florges, I'm probably weak in the back to Moltres, and unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to win this game. The Moltres is too healthy. I bring in the Florges just to get a little bit of extra fast move damage in the hope that I can put it in Mud Slap plus Water Pulse range, but they're just too far ahead. Even though I'm up 2 shields, there's just nothing that I can really do into a Galarian Moltres. Moltres will get to go for fly after fly after fly. They make yet another fly. Oh, this is just absolute shambles. I really want to give props to my opponent in this game. It is a tough decision to make to go down 2 shields, but they realize with a Florges in the lead, there could be a weakness to Moltres in the back, and that decision to go down 2 shields wins them this game, as they had a Clodsire in the back. If they didn't commit to the Moltres, it was a very straightforward game for me, but they made the right read. They protected the Moltres, and Moltres just devastated my entire team once Florges was KO'd. Hopping into the final match, Florges into Annihilate, amazing lead. Opponent safe switches into a Bastiodon. And I included this because this is how you answer a Pokemon when you have a completely dominant answer. Switching in Gastrodon instantly would be a pretty massive misplay, but I can farm up to 2 Chilling Waters and then bring in the Gastrodon, because there's no reason to send in the Gastrodon instantly. It is actually a very inefficient play. By banking all the energy on Florges, I've now set it up where even if they have a problematic Pokemon for me, it's really not going to matter because I'm just so far ahead. I go for the Water Pulse as they bring in Annihilate, Water Pulse lands, and now I get to play aggressively. In comes Florges, and I'm going for the Trailblaze, so I can look to boost up my damage. Trailblaze lands, they can barely hang on, they send out Wigglytuff as their final Pokemon. Wigglytuff would be a huge issue for my Galarian Corsola, but I have a boosted Florges. I was able to debuff the Wigglytuff. Now I'm going to buff up myself, so now I'm at +2. These Fairy Winds suddenly looking so threatening. I'm going to put up the shield because I know that I do have energy available on that Gastrodon. I get to another Chilling Water, and now I realize there's an incredibly simple play that wins me the game. Insta switch into the Corsola. Because if my opponent stays in, then they're double debuffed, and if they switch out, then they also lose. All in all, I had really nice results with this team. I think this Florges moveset is very strong. In the Go Battle League, there is a lot of Pokemon weak to the Fairy typing, and there's also a whole lot of Water types, Pokemon like Gastrodon, where the Trailblaze can be very helpful. Now, I do expect that people will start constructing teams with this moveset in mind, like we saw the trainer running the Abomasnow, probably for the express reason that Abomasnow does really well by walling off this new Florges moveset. So I'll be interested to see how the meta adjusts and adapts to this new moveset, but so far this moveset has been providing some really incredible results. Jocko Loco was able to hit rank 1 in the world using this moveset on Florges with a very different backline. I believe it was Charjabug plus Corviknight. So a very different team overall, but still showcasing the power of this moveset. So personally, for right now, I'm a big believer in this moveset. It worked out great for me, and I believe it went back-to-back 4-1 sets this morning with a few battles done yesterday as well. So I felt like the team overall went very, very positive, and I'm very happy to get expert this early in the season. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching content like this, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.